Hey guys, it's me, RC Panzer, and I'm back with a brand new wrap and this month's patch rundown. This video is going to have to pull double duty, covering both the months of April and March due to a couple of reasons which don't really matter. Anyways, first among the to-do list, I want to apologize to my, 8 subscribers. I started what I thought was a really cool series of these videos, then rather abruptly stopped. Mostly this is because I just couldn't handle the extra workload combined with classes and work, but also because Heart of the Thorns got announced. It completely will change how gear works, stat-wise, and will add a new combination of stats for us to screw with, and completely buggers the trait system we know and love. So my many months of gameplay I recorded, with specific builds and traits and strategies in mind, are now out the window. The new weapon sets, which I'll also talk about later, will also completely change the meta, with new builds and upgraded variants on old builds, as well as the introduction of some new professions called elite specializations. With these rather drastic changes in mind, in the next weeks approaching the release of Heart of Thorns, I will be releasing videos. But they will be on SPVP strategy and tactics with whichever professions and builds I feel best exemplify the strategy. If you have any questions, comments, or video suggestions, feel free to message me in-game at rcpanzer.8145 or email me at buildwarsemail@gmail.com. Now, on with the show. This patch isn't a huge one, mostly just some minor tweaks to specific profession skills, like the Guardian can't use Sword 2, Flashing Blade, mid-leap anymore. That's really more of a bug fix than a substantial change. Same with Necros not being able to Spectral Walk while falling, or Thieves Shadow Return. There are a few bigger changes though. Line of Sight has been significantly tightened up, with object hitboxes becoming more specific in regards to blocking line of sight. Also, Teleport and Blink type abilities have been significantly restricted, where they now check for a clear path to the target location before teleporting. That means thief skills like Signet Infiltration, Infiltrator Zero, Shadow Strike and Shadow Return, Shadow Step are all nerfed. It's now much harder to port up and down elevation changes. If your character can't walk there, you can't port there, or even over flat ground if so much as a pebble is in your way. This reduces some of the dumb mobility that Thieves and Mesmers had over other classes, somewhat leveling the playing field in the elevation dance. Also, stability got a huge change. It's no longer a duration type buff, but has been changed to intensity, like Bleed. So each of the abilities that provided stability that used to say grant stability for 8 seconds, I'm looking at you asshole warriors, now the same effects say grant 10 stacks of stability, each stack absorbing one hard control effect, to which stability would normally make you immune. Sort of like Defiance that bosses have, that champions have. Each hard crowd control reduces the stack by 1 until you're vulnerable. Elite skills like the Elemental's Tornado, Engineer's Elixir X, and Thief's Dagger Storm now grant 3 stacks of stability every 3 seconds, still making them hard for one person to interrupt, but entirely possible for a group of people to break down. Yeah, no more tornadoes on midpoint while your entire team sits there and dies from an Elementalist for 15 nipple-twistedly long seconds. The rest of stability abilities, if they were short duration ones, only give 1 stack, but most of them grant a number. So, let's go through that. For Ellie's, Armor of Earth and Earth's Embrace now grant 10 stacks on use. Engineers get 3 stacks while tossing Elixir B, and constant might stacks while using Mortar and Elixir X. Guardians get constant stacks while using their tomes, their elite skills, Tome of Courage and Tome of Wrath. They also get 5 stacks with Stand Your Ground, 3 stacks with Indomitable Courage, a trait, and a stack per second with Hollowed Ground. I think that one's going to prove to be really useful. Mesmers get 3 stacks of stability with Mantra of Concentration, applied to all nearby allies. Necromancers get 1 stack every 3 seconds, with which form not very much, and constant stacks of Plague, like 3 per 3 seconds. Necros also actually got a slight bug fix, where most of their traits completely stopped working while they were down. That's been fixed. Rangers got constant stacks with Rampage's 1, 5 stability stacks with Stability Training, a trait in Survival, I believe, and 5 stacks with Signet of the Wild. So they're going to be pretty solid with stability when they need it. Rangers also got a small buff where Hide in Plain Sight is now normal stealth instead of camouflage stealth, so they can move while stealthed. Anyways, Thieves get the short end of the stick, of course, only having stability on Dagger Storm, which is kind of a worthless elite skill in the current meta. Warriors get constant stacks with Rampage, but who even uses Rampage? 5 stacks with Balanced Stance and Last Stand, and a whopping 10 stacks with Dolyak Signet, which used to make you immune to crowd control. This patch, Mesmers and Thieves really got dicked. The huge nerf to teleportation really hurts them both. But more than that, they can't steal stability buffs anymore. That's the big change. Thieves with Larceny Strikes or Sleight of Hand or Bountiful Theft only steal 1 stinking stack of the stability when they manage to get it. Boon shredding away stability is no longer really possible, because if a warrior pops Balanced Stance and this goes, oh hey, I've got 5 stacks now, and you take off 1 stack, he's still immune for your crowd controls. I am personally most appalled at that because I realized how broken boon stealing is, but I liked it. Anyways, it can still be eaten by Necros because they do the whole stack at once with Contaminate Ground, Corrupt Boon. They have one other that I'm forgetting. The Rip Boons from Dark Path. If you're traded for it. And Mesmers can rip away the Null Field because that takes the whole stack at once. But I'm still sad about Thieves. Thieves are going to have a much harder time with Stability Warriors now. Your Basilisk Poison is just not going to get them. So, I want to talk about the expansion, as a lot of things have been confirmed by NN in the last few weeks. The trait system is going to be completely changed, and dipping into multiple trees to get the best minor traits and a few add-up-tier major traits will no longer be possible. Now you have to pick 3 specializations to gain access to those trait lines. Instead of the 6-4-3 traits in Adept, Grandmaster, and Master tier, you'll have 3 solid ones in each, 3 traits, unlocked by Mastery level. The removed traits, and there are lots, are getting their effects rolled into existing abilities or other traits. That's an overall buff to some skills, like Warrior Stances lasting 25% longer by default, rather than having to spec for it. That's just speculation, I don't know if that's actually one. Hopefully, this will mean no more tedious trait hunting, searching for Logloth and never ever spawning to kill him and scrape a trait off his pimply butt, or spending 10 hours 100%ing freaking Lorner's Pass to get a semi-useful adept-tier trait. Now you can just do skill challenges all over the world, or say, use Water Attunement to get a shitload of Water specialization. That is an overall improvement, I feel, to the current system. I'd much rather just quest and explore and 100% what zones I choose, rather than cherry-picking traits out of zones. My current map for some more recent characters is really spotty, like on my warrior with a beeline to Lord Ignis at the very base of Lorner's Pass and nothing else in the zone, because that zone blows. However, I personally am torn on the streamlined build paths. For one, it'll make every Berserker a cookie-cutter build for its class. For two, it'll make my job a lot easier, with trait lines no longer giving you 100 power and 5% crit chance or whatever. That stat boost has actually been removed. This is an overall nerf to the game, with players' stats being boosted from 926 base, who the hell let that number come through, to 1,000. Much easier to calculate how much you're actually getting from gear in your head. Also, percentages are easier to figure. But it's an overall nerf because you were getting 300 power and, say, 15% or 30% condition duration from a trait line at a time, so that 74 stats isn't going to make up for that. They said that gear will make up that stat difference, but it wasn't mentioned at what gear level the stats would be out to pre-expansion values. Is it greens, the simple gear that enemies drop, so that as soon as you are 80 you have your stats? Is it exotics or dungeon gear sets? You have to spend time killing everything with a gold name to get your stats back up. Nobody said anything about it yet, but I trust in our Lord and Savior ANET, without whom we would not be having this conversation. Let's see. Another large change that's rumored by everybody and their dog to be coming is an actual aggro system. As a veteran MMO player, with the aggro clusterfuck that is Guild Wars 2 has had me chewing my keyboard in frustration when a champion mob turns to my pasty white ass and flattens me, while a perfectly good guardian with a shield is standing right there. It won't be as explicit as like WoW's advanced, percent threat and taunt mechanics, but some semblance of boss control by the people with higher health than, say, my Zerker Thief will be a vast improvement. Also, with powerful tanking comes great healing requirements or something, so I feel that healers will be implemented and be a huge, massive, great improvement. After quitting WoW, all I wanted was to raid heal again without, playing WoW. So me, a dedicated healer spec, would be for the viable classes like Ellie, Necro, NG, maybe a warrior like the Shout, not the Shouts, the Banner Warrior, where every time you summon a banner it heals, and then banners comes to pulse out healing. Never mind, Mesmer, maybe, would be a fantastic opportunity. I'd love to play a healer Mesmer or a healer Necro. Stealing life from enemies to give to your teammates. The main huge confirmation was that of several elite specializations. As you probably already knew, several classes were getting a new weapon, and that means new weapon skills. What is new, however, is actually the addition of 3 new specializations for each class, rumored to be exactly 3 for everybody, and an elite specialization only available at level 80. This means endless more combinations, 56 actually, of builds for each class. Who knows how many of which will be viable or fun or whatever. More than that, with the new weapons and additional elite spec, you have 28 more builds for each class if everything works with everything. So you can be a druid ranger with like precision and power trees. Assuming that works, we have a lot of builds to cover. So here are the new elite specializations and weapon additions as far as the internet knows at time of writing. Elementalist gets Sword for main and offhand, and becomes the Tempest, which is a favorite from Guild Wars 1, my personal favorite, and the class I am personally most excited about, bringing a true melee focus to the Elementalist, one of only two classes that completely lacks a melee weapon. No, Dagger doesn't count as melee. Everything still has 600 to 900 range, so no. Engineer gets the Hammer, two-handed that is, class name unconfirmed. By my guess, it'll be like the Toolkit utility kit, being able to fix existing turrets with every attack, as well as having some maybe gear-related, like slam gears on the ground. I don't know what's going to happen. They're the only other ranged-only class, apart from Elementalists, so the Hammer opens up some melee possibilities. Guardians get the Longbow, which kind of came out of the blue for me. I really expected, like, Warhorn, or rifle, maybe, I don't know. Longbow, but the class name is still unconfirmed. Hopefully they stick with the burning tanking theme, because burning and rooting ability, like the Warrior's Pin Down, plus some AoE DPS abilities, a rain of holy arrows up into the sky or something. A mix of Rampager and Bunker abilities to complement what's already one of my favorite kits. I'd really like that. Mesmer got its own big announcement on Facebook, the forums, the GW2 homepage, probably TV, YouTube, the newspapers, and a direct copy to the freaking president's desk as a Chronomancer. Seriously, the announcement was everywhere. They get Shield as an offhand weapon, which is good since they only had 4 before. They will get at least 1, if not 2 lines of trade stealing with the temporal fissure they can create, as well as a mark skill, like the Necro's marks on the ground. A mark skill, I lost my place. A mark skill and a new shatter skill, which is F5, taking up more buttons, called Continuum Split, where they create a separate time loop to exist within for several seconds, returning to their original precast state with cooldowns, HP buffs, conditions, and everything just the same. So the new combo will be Shatter 3 clones, drop every cooldown you have as fast as possible, including your ultimate skill, Time Warp, or whatever else you run, then return, all your cooldowns are back, drop them again, get more effects. They also get a new buff to play with called Alacrity, which is the direct opposite of Chill. The buff gives you increased movement speed, to be confirmed, and increased cooldown speed. So where Chill slows your cooldowns by 66%, so it takes like 3 seconds to get through 1 second of actual cooldown time, this will increase it, so it takes 1 second to get through 3 seconds of cooldown time. So your long cooldowns can be sped up significantly. I'm excited mostly because the release picture had the Mesmer holding a shield that looked a little bit like a clock, and I totally called it. Next is the Necromancer, rumored early on to have basically everything, but finally confirmed for the Greatsword. Like everybody said, it's got maces, it's got bow, it's got rifle, it's got pistols. No, it's gonna have a martial weapon. It's gonna have Greatsword. Still unnamed as a class, but I imagine like a bone spur or a scythe melee weapon, and even more life draining abilities. Make them bleed, gain the life back. So like a less shitty dagger. And before anybody crawls up my ass about dagger necros, I respect them, but wouldn't necessarily want to be in the same room with one, if you know what I mean. Ranger gets the Staff, which is the first weapon ever confirmed. This will allow them to become a druid prestige class, with nature, plant magic, and possibly some healing skills. The forums are actually on fire with people debating the healer versus DPS potential of a druid, with people afraid of change suggesting no heals ever, and the more progressive ones saying, hey, maybe some heals, some is okay. Thief is unconfirmed as of now, but my suspicions always lean towards the bruiser mafia type hitman, where they'll have maces, main and offhand weapons like a leg breaker, a knee breaker, lots of crippling attacks, heavy head cracks, that kind of stuff. I can't really foresee magic thieves, except maybe, actually now that I think about it, wielding a scepter and becoming like a shadow mage. That'd be kind of cool. Not a staff, too big and bulky for a thief. And no, that's gonna be too much like a necro anyways. Never mind. Warrior is completely unconfirmed as of now, and I have no freaking clue what to expect for them. They already have the most weapons out of any class and the most weapon combinations, with lots of one-hand and offhand weapons. The weapons they don't have are pistol, focus, scepter, staff, dagger, and short bow. That's it. That's all they don't have in the entire game. Staff, scepter, and focus are magical, so we can pretty much cross them off the list. Short bow is too much like long bow. That leaves pistol and dagger, realistically. Both pistol and dagger, I feel, would make them too much like thieves, in my opinion. So that sets me back to step 1, having absolutely no clue. Anyways, whoa, that was a long time. Yeah, that's your Build Wars patch rundown for April and March. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, opinions, insults, berations, or otherwise, message me in-game at rcpanzer.8145 or email me at buildwarsemail@gmail.com. I'm RC Panzer, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe below.